Thank you very much. Nice to meet you, and thank you for your time to meeting. My colleague Mate will help me out with the translation. In the first couple of minutes, we want to show you a brief introduction of the company, and then we can dive into the possibilities in education which we can make real using our technology.
Bueno, buenos días a todos. Muchas gracias por dedicarnos su tiempo. Y bueno,
buenos días. Para evitar la traducción, I speak English very well, así que go ahead.
Ok, fantástico.
Great. In that case, we can spare a lot of time. So basically, our company were established more than 30 years ago as a textbook publisher. So this is our core business, to creating textbooks for the Hungarian market. But 12 years ago, we started to developing our own software in order to fulfill the gap between the books and the digital resources, because we have to find a way how we can transmit the existing teachers into digital teachers, because we cannot replace the teachers. We have to guide the existing teachers to be comfortable with digital. We have more than 200 employees, and 100 of them is working directly on digital solutions. We produce many content in-house. One of our specialties is 3D, which I will show you later. 32 languages which our application is available in, and it's fully available in Spanish, both the applications, messages, manuals, and the content itself as well. We are selling in more than 60 countries through 40 partners, and we represented virtually in all the continents. So basically, we're concentrating on both the teachers and the student needs, and we have different applications for their different needs. Because teacher is more about creating the content, and student is more about to consuming the content. So different views is available for both of them. The application suite consists of 3 main areas: for classroom teaching, for home learning, and for administration. So let's dive into the middle. When a teacher simply goes to a class, whether it's a physical class or whether it's a virtual class like we have now, teacher using the Mozabook application to compose their presentations. Basically, simulating the same experience as you would go into the class and writing on a normal whiteboard. So I just simply start to writing my text, like hearing, and the application helps me to turn into typed text. Then I can just simply ask the application to offer me some digital content, like 3Ds, in the same topic. So I can just simply drag and drop the text and get the relevant content out of the automatic suggestions. In this way, I can help the teacher in order to get the relevant content to enrich their lessons. So basically, content is very important in the field of education, because that makes the whole process more easy and straightforward. Because of 3Ds, you can help the teacher to explain the content, and that's very important, the way how the teacher can make the students understanding the content. Using the 3D models is very similar than using the plastic molded model. However, even if you have a plastic molded model in big schools, most of the countries cannot afford to having plastic molded models, you know, these maquettes in rural areas. But if you're using digital resources like this, you can even use a projector in order to have the high quality content even in the furthest village. The 3Ds also helps the teacher to show them not simply how they look like, but how they work. They can simply simulate an event, like sending out a voice, and they can track how these different bones connected to each other. They can go down into different levels depending on the age of the students in order to see how exactly the voice converted into signals on the nerves. This is just one example out of the 1,200 3Ds which we have in our library. This can consist of different simulations, information, like in the form of labels or descriptions. But on top of that, they also can contain pre-made exercises like quizzes, and also they can contain narrated animations.
El sonido es la vibración del aire que percibimos con la ayuda de nuestro
in which the student both can listen and read the content which describes the specific topic. As I mentioned, the application suite works in more than 32 languages, which means I can easily switch to English.
Sound is the vibration of air perceived.
I can listen and read the same content in English, which means I also can use it for language resources in bilingual education or just to learning foreign languages. So 3Ds is one of the elements in the solution, but the core element is the presentation tool in which I can compose the different objects. And integration is also a very, very important feature nowadays. How we can combine the different things. Teacher can simply drag out the 3D object directly into the presentation, allowing them to use it as a 3D model, and they even can use the annotation on top of that. But education is not only about just telling the things. Teachers very often have to create exercises because they have to measure up how much the students understood or in which level they are, which is not only important for the teacher itself, but it's also very important for educational administration, for Ministry of Education to see how the whole education is progressing. So if I have a simple content like this 3D model, which I just select the view, with a single click I can generate various exercises. So we can shorten the time needed from the content to the exercise to allowing the teacher to concentrate on the pedagogical aspects. So basically, a ready-made exercise is generated out of the 3D model immediately, which is also can be solved and placed into locations. But this exercise still have the ability to fully customize. So teacher can delete different labels, they can add something more, and now they are ready with the custom exercise. So we both providing the ready-made content also together with the possibilities of adjusting the content. How all these things can come together? Because every content which either generated or created inside the system can be easily saved or pinned into different documents. So while the teacher is composing the presentation, they can simply use these pages in order to compose the content, save various icons and various things inside. But how we can combine all these things with the existing knowledge of the teacher? On that, we can introduce another thing, the local existing textbooks. So basically, the platform is able to combine the existing textbooks. So those textbooks which Bolivia is using at the moment on paper can be digitalized into the platform and turned into digital books enriched with real interactive content, which means that 3D exercises can be pinned directly to the pages. First, it seems a very simple and straightforward, but it's a very powerful tool because most of the teachers are generally afraid of digital. In this way, we can build up a bridge between the traditional textbooks and the possibilities which computers can bring. With this bridge, we can allow the average teacher, the big amount of teachers, to go into digital without the pain. So in this case, the local textbooks directly inserted into the system. In this example, let's imagine we have a science book for second graders high school. And in this case, we can simply attach the content onto the pages. So I open up the media library and I just select the relevant content. I browse or search, and then I can just simply drag and drop. So I just place the content into the page, which means every other user who is coming into the platform, they can simply use the content which I placed there. Or I can create completely new content according to the Bolivian curriculum, and it also can be carried out by a Bolivian team. One of our powerful tools inside is exercises, which allows the teachers and the educational creators in order to create more than 13 types of exercises. In this case, let's create a matching exercise. I just simply have to select the pre-made template, and with easy and straightforward drag and drop, I can place various images into the exercise directly, and then I can just type in the answers. So let's say this first two is nutritivos, and let's say this is no nutritivos. And I just simply tell the application which are the desired right answers. When I'm save it, the application all the time shows it in a randomized way. So when the student is solving the exercise, they can just simply tell what they think, evaluate, and they immediately can see the results. So students also can use these exercises for self-checking. The exercise we created, we can directly put into the textbook, which means we can put all the relevant content directly into the pages of the textbook, which means when the average teacher comes into the digital world, they don't have to be able to navigate, they don't have to be able to understand the concept, how they can browse and search, because they can simply go to a simple view, open the book, and accessing the content which is directly on the pages. So if this exercise or this topic is about nutrition, they can open up the 3D, which tells what are the different types of foods available, what are their benefits, and so forth. And this is available in Spanish. So they can go to the 3D, they can see various camera views inside, and so forth. So in this case, the teacher did not have to search for the content. They can simply directly use the content aligned and made available for them directly. Okay, let's go further. Let's see another example. What is the next level of content? Another level of content is tools. So we have lots of legacy content like images, videos. We also have more than 700 videos produced by ourselves. But in the other side, there is also a possibility to introduce existing libraries into. But let's see another level of content, which we call them tools. Inside the tools, we can combine the productivity of the teacher with some specialized applications. Let's see a very easy one, which is a simulation, like the optical kit. Let's imagine that you are inside a high school and you're teaching the optics. Some of the high schools has a physical optical kit. But if you have the virtual one, which also can be successfully used in distance education, because I can easily share on my screen, then I can compose various simulations in the field of optical editing. So it means in optics, I can try by myself, both teachers and students, to how these different lenses are reacting on the combinations. If I made a simulation, I can easily pin the simulation directly into the textbooks, which means all my configuration is saved into the icon. So if I open up the icon, it will mean that exactly the same loads back. Why it's good? Because if you have a core team who creating the enrichments and putting all these icons directly onto the relevant pages, then you can immediately spread these digital content to the older teachers. So even those teachers who are not able to create their own content can simply play it. So an average teacher also can access the content to directly show to the students in screen sharing. And here it comes another possibility of using as part of another platform in a meaning of video communication. So during these lockdowns, many schools had to deliver education in a distance meaning, in a very similar way that now we have this meeting. So I'm in the role of the teacher, so I'm speaking and I'm also sharing my screen you see in my camera, which means that teachers in actual schools also can use various screen sharing applications like Microsoft Teams or Google Hangouts, and they can use Mozabook application as a content source. So basically, they can combine the platform of Mozabook, existing Bolivian textbooks, on top of that, digital content coming from the Mosaic platform, or also third-party content can be imported, And on top of that, all these simulations and 3Ds. And composing all these together through a video chat application, they can deliver lessons. In some of the countries, they also using pre-recorded videos where teachers or a professional teacher team is creating a video and spreading through the system for the students to learn. Another advantage of the platform itself that it's solving all the subjects. So there is not a specific application for maths, another for music, another for social sciences. We can solve all the curricular requirements inside one application, composing a single point of content access and also reducing the support time needed to prepare the teachers to accommodate themselves, because even a geography teacher can help out a maths teacher because they're using the same platform. There is a lot of self-learning material. The application can describe itself. There is a built-in manual for which the teacher can read and learn about the application by themselves. Even the application is able to introduce itself through narrated text bubbles.
La barra de herramientas proporciona un fácil acceso a las funciones más importantes en el programa. Abre tus libros y cuadernos.
And so forth. I didn't tell in the beginning, but if you have some specific questions or something is not clear, please feel free to stop me. Or if something have to be described in Spanish, Mate is available and he's happy to translate. So regarding the content library, which is one of our strengths and it's quite unique in the market to having a so extensive, readily available Spanish translated content, the strongest point is 3Ds. I already showed you one of the 3D, that was one 3D about hearing, and we have more than 1,200 3D animations, which are interactive applications in 3D teaching a specific content, covering all the subjects. So inside the 3D menu, we can browse the various 3Ds. For example, human body is extremely interesting because this can help a lot for the teachers to explaining specific things. Because if the students can see how it looks inside, then it's much easier to understand, whether it's some physical things or vocational education, like how the engine works. They can directly jump into the 3D and see how these engines works in real life. So they can go into cutaway views, they can see how the different cylinders are working, they can see how the different synchronization happens between all these elements and all these objects. And if the content is relevant for the lesson which the teacher teaching, then they can simply go and directly pin it into the presentation. So they can collect all the relevant digital content into one location, which then they can share through the cloud. So what we are trying to put together is an end-to-end solution in order to fulfill all these requirements which the teacher may have, both creating the content and sharing the content. And the third step is assessment and feedback, which means that teachers can send homeworks for the students, which the students can solve in distance, which is both applicable when they are in physically the classroom or when they have to deliver distance teaching. So using homework feature, teachers can directly assign specific exercises for either individual students or a group of students or classes. So next to this teacher platform, which I mentioned, basically this is our flagship, there is also a solution for the students, which we call Moza Web. Moza Web is a web-based portal where the students can access all these relevant contents. So I just switched my screen into a general browser. Now I'm using Google Chrome. And students also can go into this portal to access the digital textbooks, which they directly can access inside the browser, including also the digital content as well. So if there is an attached 3D, the students can directly open up, and it opens in a native player, supporting virtually all the modern operating systems. It works on Linux, it works on Android, so students can directly use this content wherever they are. On Android and iOS, we even have a dedicated native application providing a possibility of using special functions like offline access. Inside the web platform, there is also a possibility to share the presentations, which we call exercise books. So basically, when a teacher creates a content, that's an exercise book. So the exercise books can be uploaded into the web platform, and students also can access them through the web. So they can directly open up the presentation, the exercise books inside the browser. They can see the pages, they can see the various elements which are inserted. If there is an exercise, they also can open them up. And next to that, students also can upload things. So if they get a task to create a video at home or create some images, then they can directly upload all these content directly from the web. Inside the web, they also can explore the content library, like the 3Ds, which are continuously updated. One of the very relevant topic is the coronavirus, which we also have created in a 3D model, in which students and teachers both can access the 3D model in order to explore and learn about. But next to those things, we have another element called digital lessons. These are ready-made topic-based educations on certain things. For example, on this coronavirus lesson. In this one, the application provides some topic directions. What should be processed with the kids? What are the topics they should speak about? And then it provides educational material, what they have to think and what they have to discuss with each other. And inside these lessons, there is various contents inserted, the coronavirus, or how bacteria looks like, what are the comparison between a virus and a bacteria, to understand better. So inside those 3Ds, both the students and teachers can explore various camera views and various views. So they can see the structure, they can see a cutaway view, and so forth. User-created content also can be uploaded and shared. So it's also allowing teachers and students to work together in order to learn in distance, or allowing the students to recap the lesson even after a physical education, after an education directly in the classroom. The tools which I showed you briefly inside the Mozabook application also accessible by the students directly in the browser, allowing them to explore and try various things even from home. And now let's see the third pillar, but for that I'm going back to Mozabook to show that one of the third pillar is administration, which called Mozalog. This is an administrative platform allowing both teachers, parents, and administrative elements of the ministry to access the data. So basically in Mozalog, which is a web-based platform, all these participants can track the progress of the education. So while Mozabook and Mozaweb is about the educational content, is about what they have to teach, Mozalog is about an administrative what happened, a kind of log. There is different roles, teachers, director, and parents. So let's go and log in as a teacher into the demo application. As I mentioned, it's web-based, so it can work virtually in any device. The teacher can make these logs from a tablet or after the lesson from the teacher's room desktop computer, and everybody also can access from any location. Parents can check on their students' progress overnight. They can get email notification about the progress of their kids. So basically, it's replacing the general paper-based administration of the school life. So I can simply go and I can administer absence, who was late, of course, in case of a normal educational regime. I also can administer how many minutes the student was late. I also can administer the grades. So if we made a lesson or we made a homework which is graded, then as a teacher, I can mark the students' grades into the system, including comments and weighting. So when I'm inserting a new mark, then I also can tell the system which type of mark is it, to accommodate into those requirements when there is a minor exam or there is a finish of a chapter that is different weight in the final conclusion. Then inside the data management, I can manage the data of the classes and teachers, or I also can go to that calendar to organize the timetables and the workloads of the teachers, or even make covers or lesson swaps. In a cover, I mean when one of the teacher is missing, I have to make a cover assigning another teacher to teaching the same class or teaching the same lesson. In lesson swaps, I also can make some temporary reorganization in the timetable. All these things are available on principal level, so the school headmaster can make those modifications. So let's go back and let's see what the headmaster can do. So director de escola. And then we can simply go to the calendar, make a cover, and simply introducing a new cover and so forth. Everybody is listening, but I have no feedback how much you are with me or whether translation is needed. So I'm happy if you have any comments to come back. So let's go back to the Mozabook application, which I mentioned. It's available in more than 32 languages. And this is also one of our specialty coming from our history, that Hungarian language is only spoken in Hungary. It's only 10 million people. So the complete platform from the first days 12 years ago was designed to be easily translatable. So we can introduce new languages quite easily. We have our own translation platform in which we even can introduce local languages like Quechua, Amira, or Guarani next to major languages like Spanish and French and Russian and Arabic. We even have very special writing modes. I mean, it's working fully in Arabic or Thai, who has very, very extraordinary writing systems. It also means that whenever you see a content like a 3D or a video dub, it's possible to record a local version. So we even can introduce a Bolivian Spanish language, very similar to British and American English, or Spanish, Chilean Spanish, Spanish, Bolivian Spanish. So we can introduce those alternations to make the whole system customizable. On technical side, we can deploy servers inside the country. So all these things can run on a servers in a domestic network, which means that all the data will be inside the country. In some locations, this is mandatory. In some locations, governments just like to have the data inside. We are ready to satisfy those needs. In case of customization, we also can do integration with other systems. But for major ones like Google and Microsoft, we have integration out of the box, which means when I'm logging in, I can directly use either Google account as a source of authentication, either Office 365 or Microsoft account as well. Microsoft has their application called Microsoft Teams. We have an integrated tab app. So if schools using Teams, then they can use directly Moza Web inside. So if I just bring my Teams client into the screen, and you can see it also have single sign-on. So when I'm opening up the application inside Teams, it automatically logs in with the same credentials as Teams are logged in. So this is well integrating into infrastructures if it's used together with some other big names like Google or Microsoft. But let's going back to education, because this is our real main topic. So it seems first a very easy thing, but it's very powerful to combining with the books. Because what you will face when you're trying to introduce an educational platform, the reluctance from the teachers. The teacher says that, oh, I'm old, I don't like digital, I'm happy with these old things, because all they have the impression of digitalization together with making everything complicated. No, it shouldn't be complicated. And this is our mission. How we can serve the needs of the teachers in order to get what they like or what they can understand. So in the beginning, I spoken about making a bridge between textbooks, but this is also true in the sense of bringing something which the teachers already familiar with. So the teacher already know the textbook. So if they open the textbook in chapter 1, they go to lesson 2 and they know what's this about, because that's they taught this year and last year. So if we bring exactly the same textbook and we matching all the relevant contents like the 3Ds, videos, simulations directly on the pages, then the teacher has their mapping in the mind that I'm in the lesson 2, I just have to go to the icon, click the, I just have to go to the page, click the icon, and I can be sure that the relevant content is loaded. So we can build up the confidence in the teachers in order to believe in the system. So this is also what you can see. I mean, this is a Windows application shared on my screen. I'm using a Windows PC, but we're running in full screen, and we're giving the impression for the teachers that this is an educational device, that the magic happens inside, because the teacher don't have to fully understand what the computer is and what is computerization. There is an educational platform, there is an interactive whiteboard supporting their work. So whether I have a presentation and I just simply try to write some stuff on it, for example, I going to the ancient Greeks, like I'm going to speak about Acropolis, I just open up the library, show me some content, drop me some 3Ds, let's see the Acropolis. Or if I'm speaking about Acropolis, maybe I want to speak about Aristoteles. So let's go to the tools, go to Time Machine, and then I can easily search in a big library, basically search in a database without understanding I'm in a database. So in Time Machine, we have a collection of more than 2,200 famous peoples over the history. Inside this library, I can easily search and go a search for a name. So let's say Aristoteles. And then I can search in a very easy and straightforward way to the people living in the same age. So we know various data about these people, the time, the importance, the profession, and nationality. And in this view, I can simply configure the application I'm interested in philosophers in the 4th century before Christ. So in this case, the application automatically collects me the people who is close to Aristoteles, and I just simply grab a couple of images outside, because we built on the same experience. I mean, if you are in a physical classroom, you also can just simply place and drag the people out of this application. And whenever we're introducing this system to a new country, we also not simply translating the content, but localizing it. So if you send us the list, who was the famous Bolivian historical people, we can simply add to the application. So when a Bolivian user accessing the same content, they will saw the big Bolivian kings and so forth. Even if I starting the application in Hungarian, I will see more people inside the app because there is all the Hungarian kings inside. When I'm running in Spanish, I only see those people who was relevant in Spanish-speaking territories. So I can combine the various content into one location, into the presentation, allowing me to freely work in digital. But this is not simply about finding the content, but making the content working for us. So I just made a search, searching the people next to Aristoteles, and I forming an exercise. So in this case, the application will generate me exercises in Spanish language about those people who I selected in my search. So in this case, I have an exercise which I directly can solve, and new generated, or this exercise with a single click I can transmit into the exercise editor, because all these things are well integrated. And if you imagine, this is what 21st century bring to us: integration, integrating knowledge, integrating services. And this is what people using in technology, like ordering a product from a web shop or calling the grandparents in 2,000 kilometers away, that we can integrate. And we have to bring this stuff into the education. So as a teacher, I just going next, this is the content I need, click a button, and the content immediately copied into the other app. But in the other app, I can go to edit it. I can make modification to get exactly what I need. I can create the exercise in a local language if I want to speak about a history of a minority inside the country. So there is endless possibilities of making the combinations and saving everything back to my presentation. So in these presentations, I can collect those icons, but each icon is not simply representing the tool, but this icon is representing an exact prepared content. So whenever I'm clicking this icon, it loads me back that specific exercise which I created, which I also can upload to the cloud. I can share with other teachers and so forth. So when I open up the 3D, just to following this example about Athens and Acropolis, that we can simply go and explore how the ancient Acropolis looked like. And this is another possibility, because everybody can go to the Acropolis and taking a photo of it, how it looks like now. But we can make a 3D how it looked like when it was in their highest light. So how it looks like in the 5th century. So I can go into different camera views, I can see the surroundings, I can go directly into views. And all these 3Ds made in-house, this is made by Mosaic, which means we also can create new ones. So referring back to one of my previous presentations in Peru, we have Machu Picchu. You can walk inside Machu Picchu in the same way as you can walk inside the Acropolis, or you can see cutaway views, how different ancient Greek buildings were structured. So you can show the students from first hand how this content looks like. You even can go and you can walk inside, you can go to different views. And the same you can do in Machu Picchu, the same you can do in various other places which we have in 3D. Or when you're learning about the names of these objects, you can see labels. But I mentioned that we have 32 languages. So those information you also can utilize to switch into a bilingual mode. So when you're teaching, for example, English as a foreign language, you can simply switch one by one. You can read the description in Spanish, switch to English, and read the same content in English. So using the specific material also as a language search to learn the languages. And this also can be done with local languages. So if the 3D would be translated to Quechua, and it's available in Spanish, that you also can use a bilingual mode to switch back and forth Quechua and Spanish. If you like one of the objects and you want to compose your own presentation, you can simply drag and drop out to grab the Pantheon as part of your presentation. Let's close the window, and I just have the 3D object directly in my presentation. So the possibilities are endless, and of course on features we have a lot, and I don't want to go much into too much details. I'm not sure how much time all of you have, but there is further and further steps where the teachers can develop themselves further. They can even create a complicated animated presentation. So I can make all this stuff animated like in PowerPoint, and then I can animate all these objects inside the presentation. I even can make non-linear animations, so I even can make conditional animations to depend on some specific things. But I don't want to go too much further. So basically, to summarize all these things, that we have a platform which allows teachers and students to work together in order to get quality education regardless of their location. The teacher can use the same instructional materials even if they are in a village, even if they are in the capital. So we have textbooks integrated, making it really localized to Bolivia. So a Bolivian teacher can open up a Bolivian textbooks. There is a presentation software, so the teacher can create their own presentations, which they also can share not only with the students, but also with other teachers. There is also a possibility of using the tools. And tools, we have more than 100 for not only for sciences like ElectroKit or Optical Kit, but also for history, like the time machine I showed, or languages like WordFinder, in which the teacher also can compose their own content. But also in simulations, like similar things like Optical Kit, we also have Electric Kit, which again, not all the schools can afford to having a full-featured electronic simulation kit. But in digital, this is available for both teachers and students, because students also can use this simulation directly in the browser. So they can just simply compose a simulation that, okay, let's measure the voltage on the light bulb. Let's put inside a resistor, and let's start to finding some other values. So if I set the potential to 5.2 volts, oh, if I overvoltage, I even can kill it. But let's put some motor inside, and let's also move it here and also measure the voltage dropping in the motor and reduce the potential. So I can simply make real-time simulations to seeing actually what's happening. So learning by trying and also showing different relations. But again, it's not simply about showing the content. So teacher can input what they pedagogically wants to tell, and with a single click, they can generate an exercise out of that specific circuit. So the application will make actual values, and every time you click the button, it generates new and new exercises. So if you want just generate a couple of them, then you can delete those you don't want, and you can stay which you like. So now in this simulation, it's asked if it's 1 ohm, 3 ohm, 3 ohm, how much voltage is dropping on the resistor. So teacher don't have to take the time by drawing as a picture. They are drawing as a pedagogical concept. They're putting the simulation inside, and that simulation, they can just simply generate the exercise. So with a single click, this application is speaking to this application to create the exercise. And this is the integration. I mean, there is various other ways of integration, but what's the goal? The goal is to make the teacher's life easier. If teacher has a better progress using this tool, they can make better lessons. If they can make better lessons, there will be smarter kids. And basically, that's the goal of all Ministry of Educations around the world, how they can improve the productivity of their educational system. In the same way that you're building buildings to have education. I mean, I also have a long monologue. I don't really want to go inside, but basically, in the time of Aristoteles, education was more personal. So there were some talented people like Aristoteles who taught a certain number of students. But then, of course, over a long time, there has happened the industrialization of education. We made education a factory, but all the factories are requiring the right equipment. So if you have a factory with old and slow machinery, your factory can produce slowly and less quality. If your factory is equipped with the highest quality equipment and the highest productivity machines, then your factory can be top one. And the same applies for education. So in education, we have to implement the right tools in order to make education progressing better and having a higher performance of the teachers by using the right tools. So let's go back to my presentation and see what else I can tell you about the platform. We have a centralized location for distributing the content, which also means that the digital content only have to be created once. We also can introduce various publishing sources. I'm not sure whether in Bolivia there is different publishers or there is one central textbooks from the government. But in both ways, we can put all existing textbooks into the platform, enriching with the content and making available immediately in all endpoints. So if a student just simply open up their smartphone. Yes, for that I have to switch off the smart backgrounds. So whenever the student opens up the smartphone, in that case, they can simply see a bookshelf. In this bookshelf, they can access exactly the same textbooks, which they even can download to their devices as offline. So inside the textbook, which is loading on the page, they can go directly, they can see, they can go table of contents, and they can access the relevant digital materials which are pinned to the pages. They also can communicate with the teacher in the form of layers, so the teacher can compose the content and they also will be visible on the side. So when I'm clicking on a content, it's downloading on my device. So let's imagine, even in Iraq, in the Middle East, they're using our platform to delivering the content for the students' devices, which they take home, and they can access even without internet connection through the native Android application. But through the web, the student can access everywhere. If the student doesn't have their own computer, but accessing the computer in a library or accessing the parent's computer, they can simply sit down, open a browser, and access the relevant content immediately. Next to that, there is also an educational plan. I mean, we have a lot of self-learning material inside the application, as I mentioned before, but we also have a plan how to educate the teachers who will be using the platform, and we also have a multi-step plan, which of course we also adjusting for the current situation. Normally, it happens to teach a master team here in Hungary in our headquarters. Then these master team will go and deliver the knowledge among different levels to spreading step by step across the whole educational system. But also video guides can be produced to deliver all this knowledge outside. So let's start a short question and answer session, just to be sure nobody will time up and leave before all the question is answered. And after, depending on your questions, I'm happy to go into more specific things inside the platform or on our concept. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for your presentation. Señor Viceministro, si tiene alguna pregunta, estamos aquí para apoyarle sus respuestas.
Gracias. Gracias, excelente la presentación. Realmente que me quedo sorprendido por la plataforma educativa que tienen. Yo tengo algunas preguntas muy concretas. Sería, ustedes tienen, aquí me he anotado, un programa para entrenar a nuestros estudiantes y a nuestros docentes para el uso de estas plataformas. ¿Tienen ese programa? ¿Tienen esa posibilidad de capacitarnos?
Máté.
Arról kérdezett, hogy van-e képzés, hogy hogyan tudnánk képezni a diákokat és a tanárokat is.
So in first place, the training should target the teachers. However, this also can be split to two levels. You can set up a core team who is creating the adjusted content. So basically, who will take the local Bolivian textbooks and placing the icons into the relevant locations. If the books are enriched, then the training for an average teacher who will be using the platform can be very minimal. They have to be able to log in and accessing this content. And after, for multiple rounds, these teachers' level can be improved in order to be able to create the content by themselves. In this situation, we're thinking about video tutorials and the video lessons like we have now. We did the same in a project in Peru recently. So over multiple Zoom sessions, we delivered 90 minutes or 2-hour lessons for the teachers from here in Hungary. And then those teachers who are in the first round, they also can give their knowledge to the second level, making spots inside the country where the knowledge can be transmitted for further levels.
Una cosa importante, señor viceministro, como las clases se pueden grabar, que es una cosa importante, estas se pueden reproducir muy rápidamente. Nuestro equipo en Bolivia, don Juan Carlos Romero y don Sergio Pastén, son gente que tiene mucha experiencia en este tipo de cosas y estamos ahí para apoyarles, para poder hacer nosotros podemos montarle este sistema a todo el país en menos de 3 semanas. Así de rápido podemos actuar y podemos apoyarlos integradamente. Usted nos asigna un equipo con quien vamos a trabajar y nosotros nos coordinamos con ellos e inmediatamente actuamos. Pero nosotros podemos, en cosa de 2 semanas, montar los libros nos toma 3 días, entrenar a los profesores nos toma 4 sesiones de 2 horas, ¿verdad? Cada día, y le hacemos 10 por medio para que puedan aprender, practicar, aprender, practicar, y la manera que son 4 sesiones muy claras. ¿Qué hace la plataforma? ¿Cómo se usa la plataforma? ¿Cómo los profesores de ciencias utilizan la plataforma? Y cómo los profesores de las otras ciencias, que no son ciencias, son ciencias sociales, utilizan la plataforma. De manera que la gente de matemática, física, química, sepa exactamente todo lo que tiene y todo está hecho para los diferentes grados, ¿verdad? Igualmente en las no ciencias, geografía, historia, lenguaje, etc.
Súper. Tengo otra preguntita más. How much does this platform cost?
Ok, esa es una excelente pregunta. Si ustedes nos dan a nosotros la cantidad de estudiantes que ustedes utilizan, nosotros con todo gusto podemos hacerle una propuesta de primera, que estoy seguro que le va a gustar.
Sí, más o menos. Estamos hablando de 150,000 teachers, 150,000 profesores alrededor. Eso es lo que necesitamos. Yo necesito que la propuesta me la envíen para poder evaluar y de ahí poder seguir las conversaciones. Yo les voy a ser completamente franco. Nosotros recibimos alrededor entre 5, 10 a 15 propuestas por día como Estado Nacional en esta coyuntura de plataformas educativas. Unas mejores que otras, otras más completas que otras, pero es importante que me hagan llegar a la brevedad posible a mi mail. Yo les pasaría mediante la secretaria mi correo electrónico el costo de esta plataforma. La plataforma es muy completa, a mí realmente me agrada, me llama la atención, pero va a depender muchísimo del costo. Entonces, yo le pediría, por favor, a quien corresponda, que nos haga llegar a la brevedad posible el tema del costo de la plataforma educativa. Vamos a poner como parámetro 150,000 docentes y de alumnos estamos hablando de casi 3 millones de alumnos.
Ok, ok. Perfecto, viceministro. Nosotros con esa información podemos trabajar, ¿verdad? Y con todo gusto podemos hacer llegar una propuesta. También quiero decirle que en el equipo de Bolivia tenemos a don Sergio Pastén, quien es un especialista en también procurar fondos de multilaterales y de agencias no gubernamentales, que también estamos queriendo ver cómo conseguimos fondos para apoyarles a ustedes para poder hacer esto factible
Súper.
en el tiempo más rápido posible.
Así es, Ricardo.
Sería genial.
Señor viceministro, nuestro interés como bolivianos, primeramente es reducir la brecha tecnológica, pero ahora tener la capacidad de respuesta inmediata para llegar a cada rincón de nuestro país con una, digamos, una plataforma que no sea de un costo irrisorio, pero que más allá del costo y la calidad técnica sepa ser utilizado para los maestros y estudiantes. La ventaja de esta plataforma es que no son los maestros y los estudiantes los que se tienen que acomodar a la plataforma. Es la plataforma la que se acomoda al contenido, a los maestros y a los estudiantes, inclusive para que lo puedan trabajar en familia. Ahora, desde mi experiencia, llevo más de 20 años trabajando con la cooperación bimultilateral. Si Bolivia tendría un interés en trabajar en esto, definitivamente nuestro equipo se vuelca a ayudar a investigar. Tenemos ya algunos donantes mayores a nivel internacional, hablo de agencias de cooperación bimultilateral, que podrían estar interesados en apoyar a Bolivia a implementar este tipo de respuesta inmediata de educación para reducir la brecha y los prejuicios. Por ejemplo, la plataforma permite hacer exámenes y evaluaciones, algo que de momento muchas universidades han frenado, y toda la tecnología que tenemos podría hacer inclusive que a fin de año, cada mes, cada trimestre, cada semana, el ministerio tenga una evaluación de los avances, el impacto y la utilidad de la plataforma. Con gusto estoy a sus órdenes, estoy en La Paz para servirle en cualquier momento.
Y señor
Le agradezco
viceministro,
muchísimo. Tengo una preguntita para el señor Peter. Mr. Peter, can we have a test time for this platform?
definitivamente, señor viceministro,
Yes.
nosotros estamos ahorita, podemos ofrecerle de inmediato y activar hoy mismo, si usted
Perfecto.
quiere, ¿verdad? En la plataforma, y podemos darle hasta el 31 de julio para que usted haga la prueba y que vaya implementándose esto a toda velocidad.
Súper, me parecería genial porque así nosotros vamos, si vale bien el término, enamorando a los docentes con algo nuevo. Esto es nuevo para los docentes. Los docentes aquí en Bolivia manejan el tema de educación virtual, pero de una manera muy limitada. Entonces, si nosotros tenemos un tiempito de test para poder mostrar lo que es la plataforma, que ellos puedan interactuar, sería genial. Yo les pediría muy gentilmente, yo ya tengo que retirarme, yo les pediría muy gentilmente que me pasen la propuesta económica al correo electrónico y poder coordinar con quien corresponda para poder ver el tema de un test, no tanto hasta el 31 de julio, un test de 20 días o de 15 días me parece genial, y de ahí ya poder tener una reunión ya con el ministro Víctor Hugo Cárdenas para poder ver alguna alternativa de convenio o algo, si realmente es atractiva la propuesta.
Claro, ahora lo que sí necesitaríamos es que nos asigne a un líder que va a hacer, que va a supervisar esto, donde nosotros le pasaríamos a ustedes los entrenamientos, ¿verdad? Para que los profesores lo vayan haciendo, ¿verdad? Con el objeto de hacer, digamos, varias escuelas para que ustedes puedan hacer las pruebas y ver los resultados.
Perfecto.
Estimado
Sí,
Cristian,
no hay problema,
buen día. Cristian, buen día. Juan Carlos Romero, Santa Cruz, tu bella tierra, de Santa Cruz, gerente de Inventus Bolivia. Yo me imagino, bienvenido Cristian, que los libros ya nuestros tienen tu nombre, ¿no? 21F de Bolivia dijo, no, la democracia que estamos usando es también gracias a ti, querido Cristian, muy amable.
Así es, un saludo cordial, Juan Carlos.
Un placer, mi hermano. Te comento que se acusó acá a la señora presidenta y estamos ya dialogando con el ministro Iván Arias el tema de Entel. Estamos también muy avanzados. He tenido la suerte de trabajar con Víctor Hugo en el tema de Volnet. Entel, fui gerente de Entel. Diseminamos geométricamente Volnet, que trabajaba Víctor Hugo, y también la reforma educativa, la hermosa 1565, constructivista. Entonces trabajamos 30 años, estimado Cristian. Estoy en tu tierra, estoy en Santa Cruz, me hubiera gustado estar contigo en este momento. En todo esto, Sergio tiene contactos, nuestro socio también, director societario, contactos muy buenos en el financiamiento externo, Cristian. No sería muy complicado viabilizar todo ese know-how, pasártelo a ti para el tema financiamiento. La carta ya nos ha instruido a hablar con el ministro Iván Arias, también lo conocemos a él. Y mira, Cristian, es realmente una plataforma inigualable por la magnitud que tiene.
Sí.
Son más de 60 países en el mundo que están con esto. Estamos entrando hoy a Paraguay, estamos en el Perú. Y qué mejor, estimado, que colaborar con esta iniciativa de ustedes. Y bueno, en realidad lo que han hecho ustedes ya nos han dado la posibilidad, Microsoft, Google, de lo que falta es un especialista como esta plataforma, querido Cristian. Un gusto verte y saludarte.
Gracias, Juan Carlos, placer saludarte y vamos a trabajar de la mejor manera, yo estoy seguro. Un placer saludarte, querido Juan Carlos.
Señor viceministro, lo importante sería que ustedes nos hagan los contactos para que ustedes le digan al BID, al Banco Mundial, a UNICEF, que ustedes están interesados en que vean esta plataforma. Sabemos que hay fondos de emergencia existentes en toditas estas instituciones y podemos actuar sumamente rápido, ¿verdad? Y también apoyarlo, porque no solamente la plataforma, nosotros tenemos 11 años de estar trabajando en la transformación de la educación y podemos apoyarlo también con la creación de los dispositivos electrónicos para que los niños puedan recibir estas clases, ¿verdad? Que nuestro proyecto se llama Mochila Digital y la plataforma se llama Mochila Digital, ¿oyó? ¿Verdad? Y la idea es poder usar todos los teléfonos celulares que tenemos en Bolivia, todas las tablets, todas las OLPC que hayan, todas las laptops. La idea es utilizar toda la infraestructura para nosotros montarnos en ella. ¿Oyó?
Perfecto, perfecto, Ricardo, así quedaremos. Yo quiero agradecer a Juan Carlos, a ti, Ricardo, a todo el equipo. Thank you, Mr. Peter. Estamos en contacto, entonces yo esperaría el email y estamos en contacto con línea abierta, por favor. Les agradezco muchísimo por su tiempo.
Cristian, te estoy llamando por teléfono, entonces, directamente y movámonos lo más rápido. Estamos a tu pleno servicio, estimado Cristian.
Excelente, igualmente me tienen a sus órdenes. Que pasen buen día. Gracias.
Un fuerte abrazo.
Muchas gracias.
Bye, bye. Gracias, gracias.
Bye, bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye, bye.
Adiós. Hasta luego.